Hi, Mama, I'm here to build a bridge.
Oh, wow.
And that was the moment that I realized, oh, if it's a bridge, both
Uh-huh.
sides have to build. If you have
Yes.
one side building, you just have a lookout.
But I'm surrounded by turkeys. And it's you're not surrounded by turkeys. You just plucked the feathers of all the eagles around you. What is going on, L&M family? I've got a good one. And like, of course, I'm getting like a double dose of awesomeness. I've been able to have a conversation, and I know we're going to have future conversations with our guest today, who is an expert in building high performing relationships. She's got over 20 years of experience working with top tier companies like Apple. So, like, super, super fancy, real legit, highly accomplished individual who now partners with leaders, teams, and organizations to optimize their relationships for unstoppable results. And she's also a best-selling author of Meet Me at the Bridge. So if you're not intimidated, I need to let y'all know out there, I'm a little bit intimidated over you, except that she's super awesome. So you're going to get to meet Miss Kimberly Sauceda here in a second. And if this is your first time here, this is the Learnings and Missteps podcast, where you get to see how real people just like you are sharing their gifts and talents to leave this world better than they found it. I'm Jesse, your selfish servant, and we about to get to know Miss Kimberly. Miss Kimberly, how are you?
I'm great, Jesse, and I've been looking forward to this. So I'm excited for us to chat today.
Oh my goodness. And you got a lot going on. I know you do. And so I'm grateful to you for gifting us with this time. I know that it's going to, if it doesn't at least rev some people's engines, it will at least start a few fires in people to get moving and get going. And so I was looking at the stuff, kind of stalking you a little bit on the socials. And I said, oh, I got a nice question I want to open up with.
Okay.
I mentioned in the intro, there's a lot of like language about relationships.
Mhm.
So, are we talking about dating?
Here's the funny thing. So, no, this is what I've been talking about are work relationships. And so the idea is building a bridge and that both sides have to build the bridge. However, here's the funny thing is I have spoken at dozens of companies and talked now to thousands and thousands of people. And here's what happens afterwards. Inevitably, somebody comes up to me and they're like, this idea of a bridge, it actually works for all your relationships because I talk about a foundation of trust, respect, and connection. And they're like, it works really well with my kids, which is amazing because that's actually how the whole thing started. And then
Mm,
people also say, oh, it works really well with your significant other too. And I'm like, it does, in fact. And you know, the other bridge that I'm starting to write about and have been writing about, ready? It's the bridge
hmm.
itself. It's the bridge you're going to have the longest. So
Oh,
it works in so many different facets, Jesse, and I love that people are seeing that and coming to me and saying, "You need to write another book. This, oh, what about this one?" And saying how it's transforming their relationship. So I'm super grateful and humbled with the reception of all of it. Yeah.
oh my goodness. Well, so folks, if you didn't catch it, the stuff when somebody is providing and delivering universal principles, it translates across. And of course, I was being goofy. Are we talking about dating? Because the things you nailed it, and I especially love little nugget here, y'all. The idea of this relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's something, a project that Miss Kimberly is tinkering on right now. We're going to have to talk about that in the future. We really put that one on the shelf.
Yep.
Um, but primarily, the book is based on the best-selling book is based on relationships interdepartmentally within the professional space, if you will.
Yeah.
But those principles are applicable in familial relationships, in romantic relationships, and so forth. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Absolutely. Yes. And
Oh,
there wasn't a book that really talked about employee to manager, manager to employee, and how both sides really need to work together. That's the kind of the key differentiator. But this book, yes, is absolutely based on that. And it can be up and down, right? So how you manage
Yep.
a team or also how you manage up.
Oh man, that so many people, rather, I'll say it this way. I did not understand the value. First, I'll say that I did not understand the value of managing up. And then I didn't understand how to do it effectively.
Jesse, yes, same. And I have a lot of you'll have clients or other people that'll come to me and say, I don't want to play the game. But it's I feel like there's a different reframe we can have instead of
Yes.
the idea of I don't want to play the game. Like there are certain things that are happening, and it is the traction that you get when you have a solid relationship with someone, when you have really good trust. There are tons of studies from Harvard Business Review across the board that have been done about how important trust is. So it's not, I don't know, I wouldn't look at it as like a game. You're not trying to
Right.
manipulate. It's just that relationships are so much better when they're stronger than if they're just like transactional.
Oh my God, totally. Yeah, because transactional is disposable, right? Whatever, I'll just
Yes,
get another one.
yes, yes.
Now, when I used to say that, I don't want to play the game. Looking back, I can see that what I was really saying is I want everybody else to play my game. I don't want to play their game. How does that land with you?
Yes. I find that either that or I just want to do the work and I want somebody to be able to see the work that I'm doing. But what we don't realize is sometimes your manager has 18 other things that are happening. And so
Yep.
if you tell them the things that you're doing or the things that your team's doing, you're actually enabling them to be your advocate, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And it's an uncomfortable thing. I know for me personally, a lot of people I know, like advocating for yourself is uncomfortable. I know my upbringing was keep your head down, work hard, do the right thing, be polite, play fair, and you will get noticed.
Yes.
That was true at home, not in the workplace.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And so I have that framework going into the professional space in construction. I'm a construction guy
Yeah.
where it's very competitive.
Hmm.
And there are some people that are very skilled at advocating for themselves. And even worse, some people that have made a career of taking credit for other people's work.
Yes. Yes.
What do you think about that?
I mean, that is the ultimate and frustrating when there is somebody that is taking credit for someone else's work, or when there is someone and they like just kind of showed up and were part of the project, but they didn't actually do the thing. Or I work with several people in construction and I did a whole leadership program for a construction company. And sometimes you'll have someone and the estimate will be a little bit off, or hey, they meant to do this, but they didn't get around to it. And other people come in and pick up the slack. And so
Yep.
when reviews come, they're like, well, I did this, but it's inaccurate, right?
Yep. Yep.
Physically there, but they weren't the ones solving the problems. They weren't the ones doing the other things. And so, yeah, advocating for yourself can be uncomfortable, but it's also finding that confidence and telling the story in a way that feels solid for you. So sometimes what I work with people about is what's that mindset shift so it doesn't feel like the salesy kind of
Mm.
person. We talk about, okay, what is it that's holding you back? Who is it that you don't want to be? And what's the story you're kind of creating about that? Because I'll bet that you maybe had something where you're like, well, I don't want to be that guy or that
Uh-huh.
person.
We want to do our L&M shout out. And so this shout out is going to Mr. Amut. Mr. Amut, you are amazing. We've been able to hang out a few times and you left me this note and I want to make sure and share it. So Amut says, something felt missing. Lean often focused on tools and processes. But what about the human side? That's when I discovered the hashtag #NoBSTribe, where two remarkable individuals teach people to embrace vulnerability every other Saturday morning, which led me to dive into the emotional bungee jumpers, an experience that significantly improved my communication and leadership skills. Amut, thank you for giving us the shout out. Jennifer Lacey and I, we do the No BS live stream every other Saturday. And we need to make it clear, Amut, you are the one who did the work to build and enhance those communication skills and leadership skills and all the other skills. And folks, if you're hearing this shout out, part of the reason is to motivate you to also send me a comment, leave a review, or share this conversation with your people, especially if you leave me a comment that gives me the opportunity to shout you out in the future. So now we're going to get back to the conversation.
But
Yes.
maybe something beneath that where you can kind of, you don't have to be there, but you also don't have to be not saying the things that you're doing. We can come to this like confident place where you can advocate and ask for the things that you want and need.
Yes, you nailed it, right? Like in my head, had a friend growing up. You remember Beaker from the Muppets? Me, me, me,
Yes.
me, 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 me.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
that's who he is in my
Yes.
head because he's always me, 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 me. Look at me,
Right.
look at me, look at me, me, me. And I'm like, oh, and everybody knew, oh, here we go. We're gonna have to listen to him brag for 30 minutes about the same thing he
Right.
bragged about the last 6 times we saw him. So in my head, me advocating for myself that was the guy I didn't want to be.
Yes.
Now, but my problem or my misstep was that I associated any style or version of advocating for myself with the negative experience, or I'll say it clearer, the repulsing experience I had from me, 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 me.
Right.
And so I had to peel that apart.
Yes.
And what I'm taking is your work is in that space. Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Now, what came first? Like, how did you get there? Did you write a book and then say, okay, this is how you should do it, and then you should do it? Or you were helping all these big, gigantic, awesome companies and picked up on some stuff and wrote the book? What was the sequence or the path for you to be able to have the insight to help people understand that there's nuance and layers to all of this relationship and maybe more specifically self advocacy stuff?
Yeah. So okay, there are three different parts to this.
Ah,
There's
yes.
first what was the kind of the genesis of had me starting to look at this. And I live in California. We were at this offsite. It was this incredible, gorgeous venue. And I remember watching like the waves break against the coast as it's coming in and how peaceful that was, and being in this suite and how disruptive everything was. We were doing this vision, strategy, mission discussion, and the person that was leading it was fire hosing everything. And it was so fascinating because this person unintentionally was deflating everything in the room and saying how no, that doesn't make sense, and no, we can't do this, no, we can't do this, and shutting everybody down.
The
And
poo poo party.
yes, yes, and it was crazy because you had this group of very talented people, and we're doing this strategy offsite, and we couldn't come together with a strategy because we weren't coming together with the right strategy according to the person leading it. And
Ah.
it was fascinating because on the ride home with one of the people that I was there with, I'm so interested. I felt so at the time I was in marketing, and I really felt
Mm.
like, oh, if I wasn't in marketing, I think I would have been a psychologist. I'm so fascinated by why people do what they do
Yeah.
and how they do it. And so I almost was having this meta experience of watching how everybody was in that room and
Yep.
shutting down. And I also had a conversation with the leader that night. We went and we walked after a bonfire, and this person was perplexed as to what happened. They're all so smart. Why are they not offering good ideas? All of the things. And so it was this really interesting, oh, they're unaware of what's happening. They're unaware of the ripples that they're causing. And then you know what happens? We go back, and is this strategy implemented? No, because people are
Nope.
not on board. They're not bought in. They're not all of the things. And so that's the moment where I started thinking, okay, how do I want to be? What is it that I'm paying attention to as far as relationships? And in that moment, I was remembering back several years ago when I very first started managing and did not do it well. And we can talk
Yeah.
about that in a few
Yeah.
minutes. But so that was the place where I was like, wow, okay, this went so catastrophically bad. I really want to understand it. So I spent all of this time, even before thinking about a book, even before any of the other pieces, trying to understand it. Like, how do I want to show up? And I really feel like every person that you interact with has some kind of gift to offer, something that you can really take from them if you choose to see it.
Yes.
And that was the genesis of me doing all of that. Second, I want to tell you a funny story about my sweet son. So,
Ah.
spring of 2021, I went into his room, and Jesse, to this day, I have no idea where this came from. And you're totally going to laugh being in the construction industry, and probably all of your people are going to laugh. I know
Yeah.
this is not how a bridge is built, okay? So we should just start with that. And I don't know where this came from. But I walk in. You have to remember spring 2021, it's COVID, right?
Yeah.
My son then is a freshman in high school. He's now finishing up his freshman year as in college. I walk in, Jesse, and I go, ka-ching, ka-ching, ding. And he looks at me like I've lost my mind. And I say, hey, sweetheart, I'm here to build a bridge. Okay, I know that's not like what anything sounds like if you're building a bridge, but we're just going to go with the analogy because I love
Hmm.
a good
Hmm.
analogy. And I said, every day I'm going to come in. I don't want to talk to you about what your room looks like. It looked like a crazy mess. I don't want to talk to you about your grades, which by the way were amazing, like super, super
Yeah.
hit. But I feel like we're disconnected, and I really want us to have a great bridge. So every morning I was coming in, I was just asking him questions. He's a catcher, he plays baseball. What's it like
Nice.
to kind of have lunch on Zoom with your baseball buddies? It's your freshman
Yeah.
year. What's it like? Like, how are you doing? Just how are you doing in general? How are your friends? Like, what are you finding? Just connection questions. What do you
Yeah.
think you want to be in 20 years? Just whatever. Anything that kind of popped into my mind. And we just have a 15-minute conversation.
Okay.
Literally the next week, Jesse, this thing, it still gets me. He walks into my bedroom, which was also my office at the time, and he goes, ka-ching, ka-ching, ding. Hi, Mama, I'm here to build a bridge.
Oh, wow.
And that was the moment that I realized, oh, if it's a bridge, both
Uh-huh.
sides have to build. If you have
Yes.
one side building, you just have a lookout.
Yep.
And that was the moment where I was like, this is a thing that people in organizations need to know.
Yes.
This is a thing that is going to be a game changer, because so often you just have one side that's like trying, trying, trying. But if you don't have the other side, you're
Yep.
not building that bridge. And
Yeah.
so that's when I started really thinking about it, introducing it to the coaching that I was doing, introducing it to workshops. And then several months later, did I start actually writing a book about it. So,
Got you. So you observed it, the disconnect. You
uh,
observed the disconnect in this strategy session, which, folks, I'm willing to bet every L&M family member out there listening to this has been to an annual strategy retreat, and more than one. And the best takeaway was the place they went was awesome. It was fun.
yes.
Because the deployment of the strategy rarely happens. And how do I say this? To use to your story with your son. In my head, it's a perfect picture of why he was reciprocating. It wasn't because you told him to. It wasn't because you said, I'm going to build a bridge. I'm going to do my half. You need to do your half.
No.
It was because you demonstrated the behavior of what bridge building looks like. You would
Yeah.
go to him, have a conversation, of your curiosities and your interest in him as a human being,
Yes.
not how he's performing as your son or as a student.
Yep.
A conversation and interest of him being a human being, which planted a seed for him to do the same. And so going back to like the strategy sessions, and I know that you've done bazillions and seen this over and over again. I've been in a situation where the boss is telling everybody how it needs to be, what it needs to look like, what shape, what tone, what font, la la la. And they say, and I want this to be a safe and collaborative space. Collaborate. And people are like,
As
how do
long
we
as it's
collaborate?
my idea, I love the
Yes.
collaboration. There's no bridge there, right?
Right.
And
So
then,
there's no invitation of, hey, come contribute to this.
yes,
And then there's frustration
yes,
because they're not contributing. It's
yes.
like, how can I soar with the eagles when I'm surrounded by turkeys? And you're not surrounded by turkeys. You just plucked the feathers of all the eagles around you because of
That's
the
right.
way you behave.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes. It's exactly right. Have you heard of the jar with the fleas and
Yes.
right? And they'll jump up and jump up and jump up and jump up, but if you put the lid on, then they don't continue to jump as high. And then even
Yep.
when you take the lid off, they still don't jump as high because they've been trained not to. And
Yep.
sometimes leaders end up training their teams that, hey, I know I say that I want you to contribute. I know I say I want you to collaborate, but I'm not actually backing that up with the actions
Right.
that I do. And that's why mindset and confidence is as important as the different things that you're doing. So it's being and doing, right?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So role play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the boss.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that's putting that limit to people's capabilities. How do you help me? And now I believe, and I really do wholeheartedly want them to excel and share all their creativity, all their critical thinking. But because of the way I function, I'm suffocating that.
Yeah.
How do you help me? Like a couple pointers you would give to a stubborn, blind person like me.
Yeah, so we talk about what potential impact could be. If we've done a 360, it's even easier because
Okay.
then we see blind spots and we have discussions with stakeholders that we've said, hey, here's some of the things that are coming up and here's the impact that you're having. Because we
Yeah.
all have great intentions, but we sometimes have impact that we don't realize. It's that
Yeah.
imagine you're a speedboat and as you're going by, there are all these ripples and they're affecting everyone else, right?
Yes.
You're not aware of what your wake is. You're still responsible for your wake. So, one of the things that I talk about is what's the potential wake that you're causing there, right? Potential
Yes.
unintended, but what is it? So, we try to jump into what the other person might be thinking or feeling. Yeah, I hear you. It does sound really frustrating that they're not coming to you with ideas. What might be behind some of that? Oh, okay. So when you're talking about doing strategy sessions, how is it that you are asking for them to come to the table? And I drill down to when are you bringing your ideas? When are they
Mm.
bringing their ideas? Because if it is somebody that is just coming to the table and they already know what their ideas are and they're doing active listening that's not active listening.
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
So we just
Yes.
we basically peel back the onion, and I would say to all your listeners, what assumptions are you making about people? Are you assuming that they don't have great ideas? Okay, well, what led you to believe that? And how might some of the stuff that you're doing have some kind of impact on that? And if you
Yeah.
go to the table thinking that they have great ideas, you're actually going to be acting differently. How do you encourage those great ideas? And how do you encourage the implementation of those great ideas? Because
Yes.
here's the fascinating thing that's happening right now. We're in this economy where people are really nervous, right?
Mhm.
There have been layoffs, trust is really low, and there is not a ton of transparency. There's a lot of uncertainty. And so a lot of organizations are moving to more performance and accountability metrics. And I get it.
Right.
However, we also need to have the human capital metrics because
Mm.
companies also are saying there's not a lot of innovation. Well, how are you making it okay for people to
Experiment.
fail? Yes, but that's exactly right, to experiment. What are you encouraging? And how are you
Mhm.
doing that, both with the mindset that you're coming in and the things that you're doing?
Yes. Oh, I love it. And two things three things. The experiment, the reason I like the word experiment is because failure is inherent in that exercise.
Yep.
Because I'm going to run multiple experiments to get the outcome that I want.
Yes.
I cannot experiment if there's a punitive response to failure
Yes.
in experimentation,
Yes.
which is very different than failing or refusing to comply with the roles and responsibilities that I've signed up for. Those are two different things.
100%. Yes. Yes.
But it's easy to like commingle them, or me being the limiter, the limiting leader, my behavior signals to people. And I love that you like the wake. I am responsible for the impact of the weight, even though I can't see it. Like for me, the biggest struggle I had was I didn't understand that, like in my head, I'm still a skinny, troublemaking plumber from the South Side. I'm not skinny anymore. I'm still a troublemaker. So as I got promoted into different roles and levels of the organization, I didn't understand that my title amplified my behaviors and my words.
Yes.
And it took a long time for me to really take ownership of like, hey, dummy, don't say dumb things because you're giving people permission to say and do dumb things. Anyhow, I know not everybody has that problem, but I did. So that was the second point. Now, in terms of seeing the issue, like the 360 survey, if you don't know what a 360 is it's a survey that, like, let's say again, I'm the limiting leader. Everybody, not my bosses, they're going to get surveyed. The customers external to the organization, they're going to get surveyed. The people that report to me that I'm the boss of, they're going to get surveyed. And it'll give me information from that demographic or that perspective of the stakeholders. So I get to see, and here, like the first time, you want to guess what happened to me the first time, Miss Kimberly?
Wow.
My bosses were very pleased with me. Everybody else hated me
Okay.
because guess what? All of my focus and effort and energy was on self-preservation and pleasing the bosses.
Yes.
I wasn't doing that on purpose. It's just a function of whatever. And then I'm like, oh, that's not good. Like I'm a suck up. Like basically, this report is telling me I'm a brown noser. I need to take better care of my people.
Yes.
And when I made that shift, it was ginormous. So, anyways, my point was the 360 survey. That's the idea, folks. So if you
Yes.
haven't had one and you have an opportunity to do one, there's formal, magical ways to do it, or come up with a set of questions and ask everybody around you those questions. You'll learn some stuff.
Yes. So here's the thing, too, is that what I encourage people to do is the success of the project is not just some of the metrics that you see, it's also the relationship. And
Yep.
that's a mindset shift. So if it's also having this really solid team or working really well with this other person, how does that change some of the things that you're going to focus on? And so
Yeah.
the book talks about how you can build, how you can strengthen, and how you can repair the bridge. And there are 9 bricks
Mm.
for each of those. It's in that strengthen piece where we talk about what are the expectations and how do you align on, or how do you really set good expectations? Because I
Yeah.
like to say, Unset expectations are predetermined disappointment.
I'm sure that you know leaving this world better than you found it doesn't happen by accident. And I want to help you spend more time making this world better for yourself and the people you care about. So I want to invite you to the next Do the Damn Thing Time Mastery Workshop because we're going to be having some fun. We're going to be taking all those goals, those ideas, those projects, those dreams, the things that you keep putting off because of the commitment you make to work and the commitment you make to family and the commitment you make to everybody else except for yourself. When you get those out of your head and finally come up with a plan, make the space, find the time for you to make those things real, for you to actually get the ball moving on the things that are going to give more flavor and meaning to your own personal life. Check the show notes for the link. I hope to see you there. And back to the show.
Oh, 100%.
Because if you don't know, and again, like all these bricks, both sides have to play. I need to understand the expectations of my manager. My manager needs to understand my expectations too.
Yeah.
And then aligning on goals and then really having that kind of growth mindset, that opportunity that, hey, we can really grow together. Exactly what you're talking about is so important for having the really good relationship that sometimes people don't think about. They're like, you know what? I just need this bid to come in on time. Forget everybody else. Just get me the information. And then, sorry, the next person they're going to have to deal with if I cut some corners or whatever so that I could get it in. Or the person that takes the bid and then actually goes and does the project is, wait, this information didn't include everything. And so now we're going to be out of scope and then is upset, right?
Yes. The way I think of that, or the way that lands in my head, is there's the radical chase of outcomes.
Yes.
Deliver the damn estimate, which causes us to be blind to like the unintended consequences, specifically in the relationship, human interaction stuff. Because yes, I got the thing done, but I had to put somebody else on the back burner. And I mean, it's not to the degree that the team deserves, but my butt was on the line to get it to you by noon, and I got it to you by noon.
Yeah.
There's going to be collateral damage that plays out in the human interaction relationship space. That's,
Exactly. Exactly.
Now,
and that's the thing that when we have the economy like we do right now, sometimes people shift to that and just focusing on a performance metric or an accountability metric that is just mine instead of looking at the bigger picture. And we can slip into these, just as we were talking about before, transactional relationships instead of really focusing on how the relationship is. Here's a funny thing. They've actually found that high trust teams are 5 times more productive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Am I wrong in thinking that high trust teams means conflict is okay?
Oh, I love that you're asking that question because people look at the word conflict and they think it's going to be like some loud fisticuffs and all these things. You have conflict when you're doing brainstorming, when you have different kind of opinions. So when you have a high trust team, it means it should mean that it actually enables those conflict discussions to be navigated so much better. Because one of the other pieces when you're looking at repairing the bridge, it's curiosity, it's listening, it's ownership. And so you actually can navigate conflict really well when you have this basis of really solid trust, really solid connection. And then you do dive into the curiosity. Okay, so what is it? And you're trying to understand what the other person is saying. Oh, why? What is it that is so important about that for you? And then when you understand that, maybe the two of you are actually not as far apart as you thought, right?
Yes.
and
Yes.
find that common ground, which for any company, there's an awful lot of common ground, right?
Yes. Yeah. But I'll personalize it. For me, the reason I couldn't see the common ground is because I was in a state of fear, state of
Yes.
self-preservation. So I was blinded to, hey, we all get the same check and it has the same signature on it. Our jobs and the growth of our company and our careers is contingent on our performance today working together. But
Yes.
because I was so I need to win at all costs, which meant even my teammates had to lose, played out in like less than optimal outcomes.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yes. And that's why a lot of the times I say, okay, let's go back to the foundation of the bridge. Is there
Mm,
trust? Is there respect? And connection is, okay, what do you need? Jesse, if we're working together, what do you need to be your best self at
right.
work? And what do I need to be my best self at work? And if I joke that we play trust chicken sometimes. Well, I'll
Ah,
trust you as soon as you trust me.
oh
Okay,
yeah.
well, I'm going to trust you. And you can't do that. Again,
Right. It's conditional.
both
Yep.
sides need to be building together. And respect is this safety that we create. So you're right. When you are feeling, oh my gosh, I need to perform and you're like, literally, I see people kind of scrunch up and get nervous and,
Yep.
oh my God, things are not working out. I'm so, la, la. Exhale and go back to what's that foundation? How do you trust you? How do you trust that you're doing the things that you need to do to show up? And then also, how do you rebuild some of that trust and respect
Yes.
with that other person? Potentially
Yes.
through getting really curious. Potentially it's also through really listening to the other person. And a lot of time it's also, hey, wow, I caused some fracture in our bridge and I really want to own that. Let's have a discussion. And I'm going to own my part. The other person's going to own their part. And then we have this good understanding of how we want to move together, how we want to move forward.
Mm. You triggered a thought.
Okay.
So I worked with the leader, or rather, what's your advice here? Somebody has a tendency to poorly communicate expectations and never secure commitments,
Yeah.
which always turns into resentment and disappointment for them. And then I'm the guy. Then I decide to change my ways.
Yeah.
But there's this shadow, the wake, right?
Yeah.
There's this shadow of damage that has informed people of what to expect from me.
Yeah.
Now, I've changed my behavior, but the shadow doesn't go away. And so I get really impatient and frustrated because they're still not trusting me.
Yes.
What's the deal there? I'm doing the right thing. Why don't they trust me?
Yeah. 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 So here's the thing. They're making an assumption, right? And that's then I hear the hurt and frustration and, hey, Kimberly, I'm doing the right thing. And so what we look at there is, okay, some of this then is going to be packaging and branding, right? Because one of my favorite quotes from Jeff Bezos is, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. You can change that brand. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, hey, let's create what is that brand that you want to create. And then let's over index on some of the communication. And so, great. Here are a few things. Proactively tell people, hey, I'm wanting to make sure that there's transparency here. My timeline is like this, and I will let you know if it feels like there's something that's going to affect that. And I'm going to proactively talk to you early on so that there aren't surprises. I know that previously there have been surprises and frustrations and whatever. And so here's what I'm doing. So you're really transparent about like how you're continuing to do that.
Yeah.
And it does because unfortunately our brain is primed to remember the negative. We then can proactively reprime people's brains to think about it in a positive way, right?
Mm.
Sometimes it's also just resetting. Hey, let's talk about how we work together. How would you like to be informed if there are going to be misses? How would
Yep.
you like to, cool, you know what? It's really important to me that you feel like you can trust this process again. Maybe we were doing like monthly status. What if I also just every 2 weeks send you an email status on how it is?
Yep.
Right? So it's over going on it. And it's also, I would work with the other person internally to be like, okay, I want you to think about where you're getting wins, where
Mm.
these different things. So you're also, and I'm going to nerd out on the brain for just a second. There's
Yeah.
a thing called the reticular activating system, and
Yeah.
your brain primes itself. So if you start looking for the ways that it's working instead of the ways it's not working,
Yes.
you're going to set
Guess what?
yourself up to be successful. Because if your brain's always, oh, they're never going to believe that I've changed, you're going to see that. And you're going to also, unfortunately, act accordingly unintentionally.
Yep. Yep. Self-confirming bias, right? Oh, there it is. There it
Yep.
is. There, and you said it. We can program it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm the flea.
Yes.
I'm the flea in the jar, and I got one of those limiting leaders. What do I do? Do I just shrink to fit in the conditions? Do I quit? Do I tell them to pound sand?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
pointers do you have for me?
The two things that I get most often when I do a talk, Jesse, that question, and the other one is like, when do I just burn the bridge? At what point do you
Yeah.
tear the bridge down? And I've got friends that have gasoline and matches and like
I'm ready.
just ready to go sometimes. So those are the two questions I get: is if I'm the flea, or what bridges should I just burn down, Kimberly?
Yes.
Okay, so the flea question. This is all, who do you want to be, right?
Mm.
And how do you want to be? Okay.
Yeah.
And I had an executive, and this person was just in a really hard space, Jesse. There would be no, as a coach, I take confidentiality very, very important. There is no way that
Sure.
anybody can figure out who this is. So I'm not breaking any kind of confidentiality here. This client was just in a really, really hard space with a limiting leader and consistently trying to do the right thing and to show up in an incredible place. And actually, it's funny because as I'm saying this, I actually can think of 5 different clients I've had that
Oh
were
yeah.
in this space, right? It's a common thing. I've been in this space, right?
Yep.
And so you need to decide, who do I want to be? I'll tell you 3 things, right? Who do I want to be, right? Fundamentally, am I going to shrink or not? And my makeup is, I just don't shrink. It's just
Right.
in my DNA. The second piece, though, is where do I get my value and validation so it doesn't wreck me internally?
Mm. I like that. Yes. Yes.
Because that kind of a leader can wreck you.
Yep.
And change how you feel about you and your confidence and stuff like that. And I'm not going to lie, like, Jesse, that was a big misstep for me and huge learning. Is I had a really horribly challenging manager that said some really horribly challenging things. And I pretzeled myself to try to prove that
Yep.
I was this incredible leader, and again and again and again. And so I started looking for other ways that I would know that I was doing the right thing, because it wasn't going to come from this leader.
Right.
It wasn't.
Love it.
And so I just needed to kind of accept that. The other piece is then, in doing that, the third thing is, I would say, get your own kind of board of directors. Where do you then navigate that so it's not this one person that potentially is ruining your reputation? And then you can, and I've had several clients, you can move yourself into another role where you are valued. It's such a core
Yep.
thing. We want to be valued, we want to be seen. And so you have to realize, like, where do you get that value? And that it doesn't necessarily come from this person who may or may not be the best equipped manager.
Oh, the one thing that stands out is find another source for your validation.
Yeah.
Because you can absolutely do that. And I just love the way you phrase that. And no wonder people say, man, this stuff applies at home too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I've been in those relationships where she's just never going to be happy and very, very unhealthy.
Yeah.
Lost myself entirely trying to contort myself to
Yes.
make her happy.
Yes.
And it was impossible. And so before I burnt and demolished the bridge, I started finding another source to fill my cup from, and that was family. And then I burnt the bridge.
But see, okay, so as far as romantic relationships go, I feel like there isn't one person that's going to be the end all everything for you.
Yep.
This is going to be the person I do everything with. I think it's almost an unfair thing to think that one person can be everything. So find some of those pieces from your friends, from your family, from work, from different things, and also find that phenomenal person that lifts you up, that you have this incredible bond with, that loves you deeply. And there's like, whatever, it takes a village to raise a child. I think it also just takes a village for you to be a whole person too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Which speaks to the personal advisory board. Like for me, my personal advisory council has been something I stumbled on, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. But it was like, man, I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to improve. I want to serve better. And there's a whole lot of gaps that I got. And it can't one person fill those gaps. So I said, okay, I'm going to talk this person for this person for this person. And it moves around.
Yeah.
But it's been tremendous. It's been, and so the same thing, right? Is okay, where do I get my validation and support and reinforcement from? There we go. There's another clue.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it makes complete sense, right? We go to people for, how do I fix my car, to a doctor, to finances, to all these different things. Of course, it makes complete sense to get your own personal and professional board. And here's the reason it's so, so, so important at work. Again, we go back to what your brand is. It's a critical thing that you know what your brand is. If you don't, and for a while I didn't pay attention to it. I had the same thing that your parents did. You just head down, you work hard, and everything good is just going to happen to you.
Yes.
It's important to know, because everybody has blind spots and you can't address them. Silly sentence. You can't address a blind spot unless you know what the blind spot is. You also can't know the blind spot if you don't have people that are willing to speak truth to you.
Oof. Yes. 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 Which takes us back to trust and conflict, like those things. I am a heavy advocate for conflict. It's my favorite place to be. And I'm probably maybe overly aggressive on the conflict side of things. But like I'm super, super comfortable with it because I know, and I spent years and years and years dancing so as not to offend anybody.
Yes.
And that is misery for me.
Yes.
So now I just go straight at it because I know on the other side of conflict is amazing, magical stuff. Like for one thing for sure, in every conflict situation I went after, the one thing that always happens is I am 100% clear. It may not be in the direction that I want it to be, but I am 100% clear that that person is not in favor of the thing that we were dancing around. And so good. Now, if you're not going to partner me with that, no problem. I'll find somebody else. Instead of wondering and him-hawing and secret message and passive jabs,
Yeah.
at
Passive
like
aggressive. Yep. Yep. Yep.
that kind of junk.
Yeah.
Just go, how do you want to do this or not?
Yes.
I'm getting the sense that this is not something you're as interested in today as you thought you were last month.
Yes.
and
Yes.
and I've had people that are like, damn, I'm like, like no judgment.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like from here. And
Yeah.
I just need to know. And I've had people say, Jess, I wanted to be collaborate and da 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 da, but I don't have as much time as I thought I did. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to go at the rate that you go. Cool. I still love you. And whenever you want to get back on the train, let me know. But I gotta go. And I go find somebody else that can run with me. And it's good.
Yeah.
Instead of tiptoeing and fearing and oh my God, it's almost never been bad. But again, the 100% thing that on my end anyways is when I go after the conflict, on the other side of the conflict is I know for sure where people stand and what the next step is. Most of the time it's really awesome and amazing. Sometimes it's icky, but I'm clear. I don't have to wonder anymore.
And you know what that does is that builds the trust, right?
Yes.
And it
Yes.
also builds the respect because
Yes.
it's hilarious that you say dancing because Sunday I co-led a workshop with another coach and we called it Dancing with the Divide. And it was all about
Ooh.
conflict and how you can navigate
Ooh.
conflict through some curiosity and confidence and communication. So
Yeah.
I love that. And it's really fascinating to me because so many people are conflict averse because
Yes.
they're nervous about what's going to happen. And to use the
Yes.
bridge analogy, they're worried that, hey, I cause a fracture and the bridge is going to break down and we're never going to be able to get it back together. And the irony is it's exactly the opposite because
Yep.
once you actually go and pay attention, you know what, Jesse, I'm going to tell you a quick story. So, January of last year, I did an offsite with this team, and it was a leadership team, and they were in such heavy conflict,
Yep.
and we went offsite for a few days. Maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours into the session, I said, "Okay, time out. I know we've got all these things planned and activities and great stuff. We need to sit down and actually just talk." Because there's so much conflict and avoidance and frustration across the board. We're not even going to be able to do any of these exercises because I was thinking we were in a different place and we need to go to square one. We need
Yeah.
to really back up. And what's really cool is we went through all of this stuff. We reset literally on the fly, changed how the whole day and a half
The
was going to
whole
go.
Woo. Good
I
on
don't know if you've
you.
ever had that, but that's also really good learning, by the way. Like, you may have the best of plans, but then you get there and you need to adapt. You need to pivot. You
Yes.
need to pay attention to what's in the field with everybody else. And so we called a timeout. I'm not a big football person, but I do know this one. We called an audible and
Nice.
changed course, made a few different play adjustments. And I just heard back from them a month ago, and this SVP said, "Kimberly, you know what? The stuff that we did on that offsite is still paying dividends because when you go and you go through all of the rupture and you actually do, I hate even calling it the hard thing because I feel like that primes the brain the wrong way. But when you navigate through the conflict that you've just been avoiding, we then get to a better place because there wasn't trust. There were all these side conversations. There wasn't respect. There was cattiness. There were just all these things that people weren't working well together. And there was no connection. And people were making massive assumptions. And now you actually have this group that is working so well together. And when they face other things, the bridge is stronger because they know they can go through the rupture. They know they can repair. They know they have that trust. And now every time you go through the conflict, it actually improves the bridge for them. And I was like, I'm so happy.
The ability and the courage to sense, wait a minute, this is not the stuff I got planned for this workshop or this experience. These conditions, this ain't going to work.
Yeah.
So that's experience that you brought to the table, which is amazing. And then the courage to say, we got to have some hard conversations, y'all. Like, we ain't
Yes.
going to be playing games. That ain't going to get us nowhere. It'll be fun. It'll be entertaining, but it's
Yes.
not going to have any impact. So we're going to go back. Applause to you, Miss Kimberly, because I know how scary and also how exhilarating that is.
Yes.
Because like you were there,
Yes.
you're like, oh, I knew it. Finally, these people are having the conversations.
Yes.
Yup.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
You're right. You do have to say, okay, ego, we're going to set you over here. I understand it was this beautiful plan of a project, and
yeah.
we're going to scrap this part, and we're going
Yeah.
to go and do this. And I feel like that's also a thing as leaders that you need to do. When you're not connecting with your team, you need to say, okay, we're going to have a moment of humility here, and we need to do something different. Instead of just charging through and being like
Communicating.
those jerks,
Yeah, no.
da.
You don't get a pass. We don't have license to blame them if we can see it.
Yes. When I
Yeah.
very first started managing, I was like, I've got this. I've had some great managers. I've had some bad managers. I know how to do this. And I had this amazing person that I had hired, and I thought, we're going to kill it. This is going to be amazing. And the first several months, incredible. And we were working side by side, and our ROI, the return on investment, the audience was growing. This is back when I was running marketing at a startup, and I was on fire, so excited. And then I thought, hey, I did the golden rule of managing Jessie. I'm going to manage her the way that I would want to be managed. Well, in my mind, that's trust and respect. So I wouldn't want somebody sitting with me every day. That would feel like you don't really trust me on my own. You don't respect my ability. So I said, and this is her real name because it ends really well. I said, hey, Megan, you're going to now own all of this stuff. And she originally said, great, that's amazing. So she goes off. Within a matter of weeks, does the ROI start tanking? Like, audience, we were going engagement this way. Nope. ROI off a cliff. Things were being turned in, and I had no idea why. I was so confused, thinking, hey, we were working really well together. You're not turning stuff in. ROI is getting so much, just it's crummy. We're not getting conversion. All of the metrics just plummeted. So first, I was really upset with her and blaming her. And then I was really upset with me and blaming me. And just like you go into that kind of whirlpool of catastrophic thinking, I'm a horrible manager. I'm never going to be able to do this. What's wrong? To thinking, oh my God, I may not be great at marketing. Mind you, I'd been great at marketing before, but now it's totally gone. And then I paused because my favorite manager is my grandfather. And he was an expert at managing. And one of the things that he did best, Jessie, was connect with people and find out what they actually needed. So I sat down with Megan, and at first we were talking about the ROI and why the ads weren't kind of coming in, why she wasn't delivering stuff. We talked about why the ROI was tanking, why she wasn't posted, like all these different things. And you hear that key word. I was using why, which is not a great word, right?
It's accusatory.
It is, right? It's got all this built-in crummy stuff to it. So I first started changing that and started asking what and how questions. I second also started asking her questions about her and what was going on for her. Crazy thing. Here's what she needed. She wanted a 10-minute check-in every morning and a 5-minute checkout. She wanted to know how everything was going. She wanted to know, hey, she wanted to tell me, here's the thing that I'm going to be doing. She also wanted validation at the end. Hey, this is what I did. Did it work? She wanted to connect about
Yep.
her at the time boyfriend Ben, now husband, father of her adorable child.
Wow.
We started doing that and everything turned around,
Came
Jesse.
back.
Everything came back. And here's the thing,
Yep.
lest anybody think that she is a high maintenance person, she's actually not. She is a VP of marketing, absolutely killing it now, right? And she was a rock star. I just wasn't managing her the way that she needed to be managed.
Yes.
This was a me thing. And
Yes.
once I sat down and talked to her and connected with her, everything changed. And this is such a game changer thing. I can't tell you the number of people. I got a workshop about how you connect with people. I've talked to executives. Here's how you connect with people. It is literally turned around. I've had countless executives say, I was going to fire this person. And then we started having this connection, and it is completely different. It changes
Yep.
the whole dynamics of the relationship. And it is not the heavy lift that people think it is to build relationships. It is the crucial
It's not.
lift to build the relationships.
I love that. I love the crucial lift. So, summary, trust lives in conflict. Conflict avoided is conflict multiplied.
Yes.
Understand what people value and appreciate. So, here's a question that I like to ask, and similar to you, I did it wrong for so damn long. But super simple question
Yeah.
that I'd love to get your thoughts on. I ask people on a high frequency, especially like people I'm working with, direct reports, and so forth. It's this: how can I better serve you?
Yes.
And people, when I ask that question, people are like, "Oh, well, what do you mean?" Well, we're partnering on this thing. We're working together. Like our success is interdependent. How can I better serve you?
Yes.
What do you need? Do you need resources? Do you need time? Do you need to like tell me? Tell
Yeah.
me what it is.
Yep.
I'm not saying I'm going to do all of it,
Right.
but if I know I can at least work towards getting those resources or whatever it is to better serve you, because if I better serve you, the outcomes for all of us are going to be greater.
Yeah.
And I throw that question out there because I used to have a mindset of, oh my God, I got to go hold everybody's hand and I'm supposed to know their stupid dog's name and I hate freaking dogs. And it's not that.
Yeah.
It's simply discovering how to better serve them. And if I ask that question that way, that's already an immense deposit in the emotional bank account
That's
that
right.
starts the trust meter running. What do you think?
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think that the part of the key of that is the what do you need, right? And asking it as a serve. I think it's also really important to ask when somebody comes to you and they're really frustrated, to also ask, what is it that you want in this moment? Because sometimes they
Mm,
want to vent, sometimes they really actually want to be appreciated. Sometimes
yep.
they want a solution. By the way, this is a great thing to ask you. We're talking about relationships at home and other places. It's a great significant other way to ask it. It's a great way if you have teens or younger kids to ask it. It's actually a great thing to ask to a friend, right? What is it that you want? What is it that I can do in this moment, to your point, that's going to serve you best,
Yes.
right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. So my guess is for anybody that's, oh my God, I need more of this, they can go and get Meet Me at the Bridge and get the bricks, the 9 bricks, and all the frameworks and mental models and directions and
Yep.
magical formulas
Yes.
to enhancing their relationships. And do they go to Amazon? Do they go to your website?
Amazon is a great place to go. Amazon works really well.
Okay, there you go. And I'll make sure that we get a link in the show notes down there so people can access that. Now, we kind of brushed over this, but you are a certified coach. I mean, you've said it, you coach, you help people with workshops, but you are a certified coach. a best-selling author. You've worked with ginormous, I mean, hell, Apple, like biggest damn company. Nobody doesn't know Apple. So you come with a ton of credibility. And am I speaking out of turn by saying you do serve companies, individuals, teams, nonprofit, private enterprise, all of the above? You're happy to help them get their stuff more gooder.
Exactly. Yes. I have my leadership program. So I have a leadership program that came out of this book. I have done the leadership program with huge organizations to level up their directors. I've also run it
Nice.
through a nonprofit and to help with their leadership team. I have several clients that are C-level clients as well. I have clients that are founders and then middle management. So I generally help across the board and across a number of industries and globally. So, yes.
Oh, of course you do. Duh. Awesome. So we'll make sure we'll get your website. Which website? If they don't want to wait and they want to hear it, what's your website?
Yeah. So the name of my company is O2U. So from overwhelmed to unstoppable. And I help create unstoppable teams. So the website is www.from O for the overwhelm to like the number 2 U for unstoppable.com. So from O to U.com.
Oh, I love that. From o2u.com with the 2 in the middle.
Yes.
Oh, that's you must know, you must be marketing. You're a marketing person,
I mean, storytelling, branding, creating connections, those are my jam. Yes.
Oh man. Well, we've been having so much fun talking about fleas. We didn't get to talk about the other book. And so maybe what do you say we just kind of drop a teaser there and let people know that there is another book currently being baked.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Yep. Working on it as we speak. So yes. Yes. There will be 9 bricks and a few will be the same and most of them will be different. So
nice.
Very excited.
And this is the bridge within us.
Yes. Yeah. It's the bridge back to yourself. So.
Oh my goodness. I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
I know.
All right, folks. So I'm not gonna tell y'all anymore. You're gonna have to come back to hear part 2 of when that book is ready to launch.
Yes.
We'll definitely be talking again, Miss Kimberly. And so I got the final question for you.
Okay.
And given all your breadth of experience and your heart, it's clear to me how much of your heart you put into the work that you do, the things that you observe and see. I'm excited to hear your answer. So here's the question.
All right, I'm ready.
What is the promise you are intended to be?
Oh, I love this question. The promise I am intended to be. I think it is all about creating those magical connections with people. I told you that I really believe that every person has some kind of a gift. It is creating that kind of magical connection between people, creating an incredible bridge, creating an incredible learning more about them, really seeing them, appreciating them. There's something just magical about those different connections. So, yeah, it'd be something around like creating connection, creating magical connection. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And you're doing it. Not only like for the people you connect with, me being one of them, but you're also helping other people do that. So you're living that promise. I'm not surprised at all at how touching your answer or your response is. Did you have fun?
I had so much fun. I'm already looking forward to coming back, Jesse. We will definitely do this again.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for sticking it out all the way to the end. I know you got a whole lot of stuff going on. And in appreciation for the gift of time that you have given this episode, I want to offer you a free PDF of my book, Becoming the Promise You're Intended to Be. The link for that bad boy is down in the show notes. Hit it. You don't even have to give me your email address. There's a link in there. You just click that button and you can download the PDF. And if you share it with somebody that you know who might feel stuck or be caught up in self-destructive behaviors, that would be the ultimate. You sharing that increases the likelihood that it's going to help one more person. And if it does help one more person, then you're contributing to me becoming the promise I am intended to be. Be kind to yourself, be cool, and we'll talk at you next time.